We're in Parashat Vayetze, and there's a question in the Talmud. This can be found in the tractate of Psachim, in page 119. There's a question, a very, very interesting question, and that question is very applicable to us now. Very soon, Mashiach is coming.
Amen.
And right when Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be a big tent next to the Beit HaMikdash and a very big meal. And in this meal, there's going to be a lot of VIPs. Moshe Rabbeinu will be there, Aaron HaKohen will be there, of course Mashiach will be there, David HaMelech, Avram, Yitzchak, Yakov. Ooh, there's going to be a lot of VIPs there. This is going to be the first event in history that there's no security with VIPs. But all the VIPs are going to be in this big event, and there's going to be time to say a blessing on the wine. Now, not necessarily it's going to be a Shabbat, but it's enough that they're going to say Birkat HaMazon, then they're going to say the Birkat HaMazon on the wine. Now comes a big question. Who's going to be the one who says the blessing?
The high priest.
The high priest? That's your opinion. Maybe Moshe Rabbeinu should say it. Maybe Mashiach should say it. Maybe David. Who gets the kavod, the honor, to say the bracha? This is a question that is presented in the Talmud. Who's going to say the blessing? So the Talmud concludes and says, you know what? I think the one that needs to say this bracha is Avraham Avinu. Okay, Avraham Avinu. That's a pretty strong image, pretty strong figure. Okay, let's give it to Avraham Avinu. The Gemara answers in the name of Avraham Avinu, says, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do the bracha. Really? Avram, what's wrong? Why can't you say the bracha? Because I have a stain on my record, and my son is a little bit wicked. His name is Ishmael, and I'm sorry, I'm not the right person to say the bracha. I give up the honor. Okay, so who's the next in line? They go to Yitzchak. Yitzchak should say the bracha. Yitzchak says, I'm sorry. I have a stain on my record, and I can't say the bracha also. I have a son that is a little bit wicked. His name is Esav, and I can't do it. So they turn to Yakov. You don't have a son that is a problem. Can you say the bracha? Yakov says also, I can't. I also have a stain in my record. Really? Avraham Avinu had Ishmael. Yitzchak had Esav. Who do you have? You have 12 tribes. It says about Yaakov, mitato shlema. You are perfect. Why can't you say the bracha? What's your stain? He says, I was married to 2 women. I was married to 2 sisters. And this is a isur, this is a prohibition from the Torah. And I was married to 2 sisters. Therefore, I cannot say the blessing. Now, just out of curiosity, this is off our subject, that who does get to say the blessing? That would be David HaMelech. David HaMelech gets to say the blessing from everybody else. Not Moshe Rabbeinu, not Aaron, not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, not many of the other nominees. It's David HaMelech that says the bracha. Where do we learn that? That David HaMelech says about himself, Kos Yeshua Esa, Avashem Hashem Ekra. This is a Tehillim, Kuf Tezayin, 116. And that's where David HaMelech says on himself, I will Kos Yeshua Esa, this cup that's of the blessing when Mashiach is going to be, and I will be the one who's calling in the name of Hashem. Now, if this is the case, we want to concentrate about Yakov today, because Yakov is running out of Beersheba into Haran, and the topic of the parasha is that he marries 2 sisters. Now, if Yakov, my dear father, you are considered that as a stain, why did you do it? If you knew or you see that this is considered a stain, that being married to 2 sisters, why did you marry them? I mean, you could have divorced Leah or just stay with Leah. No? Why do you have to make a whole scene here and another 7 years and marry 2 sisters? And So of course comes the big question, why did Yaakov marry two sisters? If he thinks that it's a stain, that it's not a good thing. Not only that, what would cause Yaakov Avinu to do such a thing if he considers that a sin from the Torah? Now of course we know that the Torah was not given then, so he's not really doing a sin. But then again, we know, based on our sages, that our forefathers, they did all the Torah before it was given. Even to little details in what's called gzerot, of fences of our sages. Every little detail in the Torah, our forefathers did before the Torah was given. Everything that it says in the Torah, the forefathers did that before the Torah was given. So the forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yakov, they were doing everything, not only Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yakov, by the way, also Sarah, Rivka, and Rachel, and Leah. They did the entire Torah, including all the prohibitions from our sages, what are called gzerot, before the Torah was even given. How do we know about not necessarily only the fathers? The Midrash says about the fathers. There's a different Midrash, Midrash Tanchuma, that says that Sarah Imenu used to be particular with every little thing. Darsha Tzemer V'Pishtim. She was cautious with every little law here. So if you consider it such a big thing, why would you do it? Now comes another proof. We know based on the Midrash, it's called Yalkut Shimoni, that it says that when Yosef was captured, or Yosef was sold, and they came to Yaakov and they told him, he says, probably this punishment is because I married two sisters. That's what Yaakov said on himself when Yosef disappeared. This can be found in Yalkut Shimoni. And Yaakov said, oh my gosh, maybe because I did something wrong, now I'm getting punished here. So if Yaakov really knew that, why did you do it? Why did you do something that you would think later on will cause for you a problem, or that you know that it's prohibited by the Torah? Why would you do such a thing? So, before we want to get into an answer, and not only an answer, how does that got to do with me? I mean, again, we're not learning here, this is not a history class, we're not learning a historical event. We're learning something practical that I can apply to my life. So first we have to understand what happened. Last week, we see that Yitzchak wanted to give a blessing to his firstborn. He calls Esav. Rivka sees what's going on. She right away brings Yaakov into the tent. Chick-chack, you know the whole story. They switch the roles, and Yaakov ends up getting the blessing. Esav hears about the whole thing, and he flips out. How dare he took my blessing. Now, to the merit, to the zchut of Esav, we can say that he had one big mitzvah that was holding for him as credit, and he did unbelievable kibud av. He had the mitzvah of kibud avim, and he had a very high level of respect to his father. Since he had kibud av, he said, okay, I'm not going to kill my brother now. I'm going to wait for my father to die, then I'm going to take care of business. Long story short, Yaakov runs away, runs for his life. His mother tells him, go to where I lived, go to my brother, and just run away there. He packs his bags and he starts running away. Of course, there's many stories that happen in between that the Torah doesn't tell us. We know that the son of Esav ran after Yaakov. His name is Elipaz, and he caught up to him. And he told him, I'm very sorry to tell you, but I have to kill you, my dear uncle. And he tells him, listen, please spare me. Please don't kill me. He says, I'm very sorry, I have to listen to my father, I have to kill you. So Yaakov gave him all his money. He had a lot of money. He gave him all his money, and he says, listen, now I'm completely poor, and a poor person is considered like dead, no life, so just leave me alone. Now, again, there's many stories that the Torah doesn't say. We're just going to mention one of them, that Yaakov went to Haran because his mother told him. And you know what? He was remembering the story of Eliezer that came to the well, and he saw Rivka, so he says, okay, let me go to the well. My mom just told me I'll find my wife there. He goes to the well, and all he sees is a bunch of men. He's like, okay, that's definitely not my wife. So he makes a U-turn, and he goes back, and he comes here to Tzfat. and he goes to the yeshiva of Shem, and he studies in yeshiva for 14 years. The Torah says that he went to Haran. Haran, from Israel, from Beersheba to go to Haran, that's in Iraq. How do you go there like that? So Yakov had a free pass, an easy pass, and he would jump from place to place. He didn't have to travel for days or for weeks. Like Eliezer, instead of 3 days that it took him to go to get Rivka, it took him 1 day. So Yakov went to Haran, see nobody's there, the singles event, there was nobody there, and he went to Tzfat. He learned here for 14 years, and then it was time to go to Haran again. He goes to Haran, and right away, where does he go? To the well. That was the hangout. Now, all the people in Haran were thieves and crooks, and everything was cheating. So what they did is they had this huge rock that covered the well, because they said if one can move the rock, then anybody can come whenever they want and steal. So we'll do one huge rock, means everybody has to come there and at once move the rock. That way we see that nobody's stealing. They were afraid of each other. Okay, so Yaakov comes there, and sure enough, this young, beautiful lady comes. He recognizes her from far away, falls in love with her. He's a gentleman, right away comes and moves the rock. He didn't have to have muscles. He said a holy name and the rock moved. But he falls in love with her, and she takes him home. And he goes to her father and he tells him, by the way, you're my uncle. I'm the son of Rivka. Oh, big hugs and kisses. Rashi says that the hugs and kisses not because of affection and love. Rather, Lavan remembered that when Eliezer came to pick Rivka, he had 10 camels full of jewelry and gold and money. And so he comes and he's like, where's the camels? He didn't come with camels? No, I don't have anything. So he says, okay, maybe it's on his body. Let me hug him, maybe I'll see where it is. He says, no, there's nothing there. So he kisses him. Maybe he hides some gems in his mouth. Maybe he has gold teeth, I don't know. So, okay, he sees that Yaakov came empty-handed. He's like, okay, no, you're my nephew. You can sleep here in the barn for a month. You can't sleep in the beautiful mansion. And after a month, Lavan says, okay, no, a month I was nice to you. Now what? Get lost. I don't want you here. So he says, no, I want to marry your daughter. Oh, you want to marry my daughter? Okay, so you have to work for that. You have to work for 7 years. Yaakov is not afraid of anything, definitely not of hard work. They get so to say, engaged, and for 7 years they don't really meet. Yaakov was not hanging out with Rachel and taking her out for coffee and, walking in the streets, holding hands, sending to each other all sorts of smileys with hearts. And Yaakov didn't do such a thing. So they barely even saw each other. That explains how he was mistaken when they were switching Leah. 7 years passed. She changed. So, first of all, there's a big question, how did even Yaakov knew that there's another sister? To even fall into this. Because we know the story that when they get into the chuppah, the Midrash says they went through the chuppah. They switched her in the evening. Now the Midrash gives us a lot of information. First of all, there's a question, how did Yaakov knew that there's another sister? Because Rachel told him, by the way, I have a sister. More than that, even before that, when the sisters were born, Rivka and Lavan were brothers and sisters. They didn't have a WhatsApp group that they, load all the family pictures. But there was a messenger that when Yaakov and Esav were born, there was a rumor. Everybody knew that Rivka had 2 boys. At the exact same time, Lavan had 2 girls. So the rumor was, okay, Rivka has 2 boys, Lavan has 2 girls, and they already knew that Lavan has sisters, as daughters. Now, how were they able to switch to the whole plan? How did they do it? They made a big wedding. Yaakov is preparing for the wedding. 7 years he's waiting for Rachel. They put him in the chuppah. In the chuppah, Rachel was in the chuppah. They didn't switch her before, which already raises a lot of halacha questions.
So he consummated the marriage that was not he was not married to
There's a lot of questions here. How can they do that? The Gemara answers that a woman, how is a woman, בשלושה דברים האישה נקנית? How does a woman get preserved or whatever? There has to be a shtar, has to be a ketubah, has to be a kinyan, something that is worth value. We use a ring, and has to be biyah, a marital relations. So since, we're not going to get into the halacha part here, how could it be that Yakov was mekadesh Rachel and then was with Leah? But there wasn't the biyah yet, there wasn't the marital relations. We're not going to get into the argument in halacha how it was able to be done. We just want to cover the story. So Yakov is standing in the chuppah, all excited. Rachel is next to him, and then they switch her. Now, when do they switch her? When they come home. The Midrash explains that the wedding was on a Friday. That's how they used to do weddings, because they didn't have then halls and bands, and they said, okay, the meal will be on the Friday night meal. This was a common thing. Weddings was on a Friday. So the wedding was on a Friday, and Lavan was a sneaky guy, and he says, Yaakov keeps the entire Torah. He observes Shabbat. He's not going to turn the lights on when he brings her home. He's a good Jewish boy. So he brought the bride home. As he goes home, they take Rachel, they undress her, they put it onto Leah, and they sneak Leah in. And Yaakov was a Shomer Shabbat. He didn't turn the lights on, so he didn't see anything. Now, this opinion is explained by the Ben Ish Chai, that there wasn't any light, that he didn't see. But there's another opinion, and this is brought in the Midrash, that says that not only Yaakov and Esav were twins, Leah and Rachel were twins. And they were identical twins. Even though it says that Rachel was a very pretty woman, and Leah, it says in Neha Rakot, she had soft eyes, and it's actually saying that maybe Leah was not so attractive. That's, according to this Midrash, they were identical twins. So it was very easy to switch them. They looked the same. They had the same height, same features, same structural bones. More than that, Yaakov didn't see her for 7 years. Here and there, maybe they met, but she changed. So, 7 years have passed. He didn't really recognize her. So they were able to switch her. Now, how did this whole thing work? Is there were signs that Yaakov said to Rachel, listen, I know your father is a little bit of a crook. How will we know that they're not switching you? Then they said, okay, let's give each other signs. But we'll talk about the signs in a second, because in the signs is our answer. Now what happens after the chuppah? They're in their home. Yaakov is getting Leah instead of Rachel. He wakes up in the morning. What? What are you doing here? She's like, I was switched. Now I'm your wife. Of course, he's looking at Leah. Now what is Yaakov's options? He wakes up, he was tricked, he was fooled, and now he's married to the wrong woman. What are his options? First option is to say, Hashgacha pratit, everything is from Shamayim, divine providence, that's what Hashem wants. You're my wife. Okay. End of story. That's one option. It's just accepting what happened from the heavens. What is the second option? Saying to Leah, I'm very sorry, you are a very nice young lady, and I'm sure you have great qualities. Here's a get. I don't want to be married to you. I didn't want to be married to you. Here, I'm writing to you a get. Here's a get. Goodbye. Let me go marry your other sister. I'm sorry. This is another option. What does Yaakov choose to do? To leave Leah as a wife and to marry also Rachel. Where do you come up with that, Yaakov? And that's what actually happens. And Yaakov goes and says to Lavan, you have cheated me, but I still want to marry Rachel. Lavan says, okay, you know the rule, 7 years, sorry to tell you, you're going to work. Now, comes again a question, how would Yaakov come to do such a thing? Yaakov followed the entire Torah. There's a clear prohibition in the Torah that you're not allowed to take a sister, the sister of your wife, and to marry her. And marrying means that you also were going to have relations with her. But it adds one word in the sentence, and it says, "Ve'al tikach el achota." Don't take a sister of your wife. Lo tikach, you should not take her. Litzror legalot ervata. And it uses the word litzror. In order to, chas v'shalom, have marital relations when you marry to the sister. Litzror, tzorer, is like somebody who's looking for fighting all the time. Litzror means that, why shouldn't you take two sisters? Because it's going to cause them to fight. Because they're going to be jealous with each other. And that's why we're not allowed to take two sisters. Because the sisters love each other. Now they're sharing the same man. That's going to cause them to fight. And since it's going to cause them to fight, it's going to cause them to hate each other. Therefore, you should not take two sisters to marry, because you're going to make them enemies. Now we know that the forefathers followed the entire Torah before it was given, including all the oral Torah and all the additions that came after, and all these prohibitions and fences and gzerot of our sages. Everything they did. How do we learn that? Our sages are explaining it based on a verse. We read it every day in the parasha of the Akedah, and it says, "Eker asher shama'ta bekoli." I'm talking about Avraham Avinu, that you have listened to my voice, and you are fulfilling mitzvotai, chukotai v'torotai. My mitzvot, mitzvotai is plural. Chukotai is all the chukim, meaning all the things that don't even make sense. Like pork, not eating kosher animals, mikveh, red heifer, shatnez, wool and linen, all these things that are called chukim, things that don't make sense. But then it says torotai, my two torot. What is the two torot? Oral and written. Torah shebichtav, the written and the oral. Torotai, all my torot. So it says about Avraham Avinu that you have kept everything. It even says, there's an argument. Wait a minute, how are you telling me that Avraham Avinu kept the Torah? 3 weeks ago we read that when the angels came to him, he gave them milk and meat. Right? It says that he gave them butter, and then he gave them the animals. No, he gave the milk, and he waited. It says that he waited, and he looked at them, and then an hour later, he was very machmir. He waited an hour, and he gave them the meat then. I mean, we don't know if Avraham Avinu was Ashkenazi, Sfaradi, if he waited 5 minutes, 30 minutes, if he was Litai, Hasid, we don't know. Avraham Avinu took the strictest at 1 hour. I mean, in general, it depends on who you go by. You can just wash your mouth and eat right away. Meat after dairy. Some hold by a few minutes, some hold by not waiting at all, some hold by 30 minutes. The strictest opinion, excuse me? We're not doing now a class of halacha, but the strictest opinion, I'm talking about a liquid. Of course, some cheeses you have to wait 6 hours. If they're dried and if they're becoming, how do you call it? Rotten chicken, rotten...
Blue cheese.
How?
Milk, it says,
whatever it is. Some cheeses, the ones that you dry them and you, so to say, rot the cheese, I don't know how it's called in English, you have to wait 6 hours like meat. But again, we're not going into the halakha here, we just wanted to mention that Avraham Avinu was strict and he waited a whole hour. Again, it's not so relevant. The point is that the forefathers did everything that it says in the Torah. Now, if this is the case, why would Yakov Avinu do a Isur Doraita, a prohibition from the Torah? I'm not talking about a fence right now. And a prohibition from the Torah to marry two sisters. What would possess him to do such a thing? And not only that, I mean, later on, I want to find out what it's going to do with me. Why is the Torah teaching me that? But there's another question that is interesting. Why didn't he want to marry Leah from the beginning? If Rachel and Leah, the Midrash says, were identical twins, and Leah looked the same, I mean, of course, there's different personalities. Why is the Torah telling me that he first wanted to marry Rachel? Why not Leah? Why is the Torah not coming and telling me, they did the J-date thing, it didn't match well, so he went to the next profile. So, why didn't he marry Leah first? Now, comes another question here. Leah is a tzadeket. Why would Leah approve to that? Why would Leah say, I'm willing to be participating in this conspiracy? Leah could have said, listen, don't include me here. I don't want to be doing something like that. Now you have to understand, Leah is not a simple girl. Leah is really, not to chas v'shalom take from the respect of Rachel, Leah is the foundation of our nation. You know that Moshe Rabbeinu is the grandson of Leah? Leah is the great-grandmother of Moshe Rabbeinu. You know that David HaMelech is a descendant of Leah? He comes from the Shevet Yehuda. These are all coming from Leah. Wait, hold on. Don't jump the gun. Even though Yosef was a great leader, and we love and appreciate Yosef, he was a king, very temporary. Even though we do know that there is a descendant from Yosef, Mashiach ben Yosef, but really, the foundation of our nation is coming from Leah. Why wouldn't Yaakov want to marry her? So there is a midrash. The midrash, it's found in Midrash Tanchuma, that it says that the entire night she was pretending to be Rachel. She was pretending, maybe was talking like her, maybe, I don't know. The Ben Ish Chai, I told you, he says there was darkness, there complete darkness. Not like today that you have a Shabbos lamp. It was Shabbat. Yaakov says, Geveret, lady, we're not turning lights here. So they were just in the dark, couldn't see anything. Maybe the voice was similar. Now in the morning when Yaakov wakes up and he tells Leah, why would you cheat me? I understand that Lavan cheats me. Why you? You know what she answers him? Why did you cheat your father when it came to take the blessing? She says, I learned it from you. You taught me that when you want something good, you cheat. I wanted something good, so I cheated. I taught it from you. It's not that I'm copying it from somewhere else. You cheated your father. You came and pretended you are the older son. So I came and pretended that I'm Rachel. You cheated your father, I cheated you too. Now, you know what Leah told him? Leah is not, again, she's not stam a young girl. She was very smart. She told him, didn't you buy the Bechorah from your father? From your brother? Didn't you buy Esav came out first. You bought the I don't even know how you say Bechorah in English, being the firstborn. Didn't you just buy it from your brother? Means that if you are now the firstborn, I'm the one that's supposed to go to you. So I didn't cheat you even. You cheated your father and I'm not a cheater at all. I'm supposed to be your wife because you bought from your brother to be the firstborn. End of story. Now it still leaves us a question. Why did Yaakov wanted Rachel? Yaakov wanted Rachel from many different reasons, but one of the main reasons because he said, if the Bechor goes to Leah, means Esav was supposed to go to Leah, and I'm supposed to go to Rachel. That's why originally he wanted Rachel. He says, I'm the younger one, I should go to Rachel, I belong to her. Now, there is a very interesting story that kind of emphasizes the Mesirut Nefesh, or shedding some light of what Leah did. Because it seems like Leah, chas v'shalom, can be looked at in a very, very negative way. There is a student of the Baal Shem Tov, and his name was Rabbi Leib Sares. And Sares means, like you would say in English, Sarah's. Who does this belong to? It belongs to Sarah. This is Sarah's. His name was Rabbi Leib Sares, because his mother's name was Sarah. Now, who calls himself under the mother's name? You call yourself on your mother's name. You belong to Sarah. So his name is a very famous individual. In the beginning, didn't get so much credit, but he's known as a huge tzaddik. And he was a student of the Baal Shem Tov. And if you find out in the books, you see his name is Rabbi Leib Sares. When you read it, it doesn't make sense, Sares. But it's like in English, you would say, who this belongs to? That's Sarah's. Oh, Sarah's, a little bit with a little accent in Yiddish, it sounds like Sares. Okay, what does the story says? That there was very common at the time that there would be a paritz, like somebody who controls the city, and he would give jobs to the Jews and they would work for him. And a pretty common job was a bartender in a bar. You know, Russians obviously like drinking, and there was a lot of bars. And the parits, the so to say, the owner of the city would rent the bar to the Jew, and the Jew would operate the bar, and that's how he would make parnasa. One time there was an individual who was this bartender, or the owner of the bar, and he had a young daughter. Comes the daughter of the parits, and you have to understand, we don't have paritzim in our generation, but it's like the mafia that owns the city. He's the ruler of the city. He controls the city or the area. The son of the parits comes to the bartender and he says, I like your daughter, I want to marry her. He's like, no, great. What am I going to do? What am I going to tell you? No. I'm going to get in trouble now with the parits. What am I going to tell him? So he says, okay, why don't you come next week? Let's talk about it next week. In the meantime, he's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make it that he's not marrying my daughter? If I'm going to tell him, you can't marry her, she's Jewish, you're not Jewish, we can lose our business, we can be thrown into the pit. So there was one guy that was working there, who was a very old guy, but he was never married. He comes to his daughter, and he tells her, listen, this is the situation, the son of the parits wants to marry you, how about we make you marry this old man, he was never married, he's single, let's do chik-chak, chuppah, kiddushin, and you married. Now when he's going to come back, we'll tell him, listen, she can't marry you, she's married. So he will be a mensch enough to say, okay, I'm not going to marry you. And that's what happened. And they did quickly a chuppah. They got married. The son of the parits comes and he says, listen, she got married, I didn't even know about it. She fell in love with this 90-year-old guy and, and love at first sight. And he wasn't 90, I'm just exaggerating. He was the older guy. And that's it. Now the danger has passed. The father comes and says, okay, now you give her a get, divorce, I'll find you a good shidduch. She says, no. This is my husband. That was the hashgacha pratit. That's what Hashem wanted to happen. I'm not gonna get divorced now. Even though he's twice or triple my age, the story doesn't say exactly the age, but I'm gonna stay married with him. That's hashgacha pratit. That's what Hashem wanted to happen. This is the divine providence. And I'm staying with him. 2 days passed, and they found out that this older man was a huge tzaddik, and she married this big tzaddik, and they had a son together, and that son is Rabbi Leib. And he so appreciated the mesirut nefesh of his mother, that he called himself after the mother, Reb Leib and Sarah's. I belong to Sarah, from the mesirut nefesh that she did. So, where's Yakov Avinu here? But this Rabbi Leib, the story of Rabbi Leib, she was like, okay, that's from Shamayim, I'm going to change it now. Yakov couldn't say, okay, no. It was switched, hashgacha pratit, no, yalla, let's stay. So there are two answers to that. Now before the answers, there is, as a side note, there is an opinion, and it's explained by the Ramban, and the Ramban also affirms, and he says, the forefathers did the entire Torah before it was received, but, there's a big but there. What is the but? That the forefathers did the entire Torah, including all the oral Torah and all the extras and additions, only in Eretz Israel. Outside of Eretz Israel, they weren't strict. So in Eretz Israel, they did everything. When they went out of Eretz Israel, okay. That's where we learn, this is where the Ramban explains that the second that Yaakov came into Israel, Rachel died. Because originally, his original wife was Leah, Rachel was the second one. Outside of Eretz Israel, he wasn't so strict with all the dinim. The second they came into Eretz Israel, Rachel died right on the spot. Because he couldn't enter Eretz Israel with two wives. This is the opinion of the Ramban. That's where the Ramban is explaining why Rachel died and why Yaakov Avinu did it. And the Ramban is actually going a little bit more into it, and he says, by the way, that Yaakov married 4 sisters, not 2 sisters, because Zilpah and Bilhah were also the daughters of Lavan. So he married 4 sisters, not 2 sisters, if you want to be really technical. The reason why
What did the 2 sisters look for?
they were the maidservants, they were also the daughters of Lavan.
Okay, then why didn't they know when they come?
First of all, okay, so why don't we mention that he was married 4 sisters, and why didn't they die? Because they were daughters of Lavan, but not from the same mother, from maidservants. So they're considered daughters of Lavan, but not from the original mother, rather from the maidservants. So therefore they didn't have the same status of the real daughters, therefore they didn't die, and that's why Rashi explains that we only say that Yaakov married 2 sisters and not 4. But the Rambam says really, he married 4 sisters. Now, comes of course another question, that we see another situation when there was a marriage and a birth coming from a prohibition from the Torah. And that's with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, his mother and father are Amram and Yocheved. Amram is the uncle of Yocheved. She's his niece. And this is a prohibition from the Torah. You're not allowed to marry your niece. How is that possible? And Moshe Rabbeinu came from a marriage that the uncle and the niece got married. Amram and Yocheved are uncle and niece. It says that, the other way around. The Amram was the nephew of Yocheved. I'm sorry. Yocheved was the aunt of Amram. And that is not allowed to marry. This is one of the forbidden relations. And Moshe Rabbeinu was born from that marriage. But the same answer of the Ramban, it was not in Eretz Israel. Since it was not in Eretz Israel, then it was fine. But of course brings us again to why did Yitzchak marry 2 sisters? Okay, now I understand that it was outside of Eretz Israel. Okay. Now there's 2 answers. Why did he do it? With very, very deep meaning, and that's what we want to take from that. That's what we want to learn from this. First of all, the reason why Yaakov Avinu married her, the first of the 2, is because of the signs. Yaakov and Rachel had signs, the simanim. And how did it work? Rachel came to, when Yaakov came to Rachel and says, I want to marry you, and she told him, you know that my father is not the most honest guy, and I'm sure he's going to try to pull something here, and he's not going to be happy that I'm the younger one is marrying you. For sure he's going to do something here. Yaakov Avinu says, okay, no problem. I will give you some signs, and when we come to the chuppah, I will ask you the signs, and if you answer them, then I know it's you. And I will go along. And if you don't know the signs, like a code, then I know it's not you. And he told her, these signs are going to be 3 words. Chala, Nida, Hadlakat Nerot. The 3 mitzvot that women are obligated in. Baking chala, more like the separation of the chala. Nida, family purity, and lighting the candles. And if you don't want me to say 3 words, I'll say it in 1 word, Chana. This is my signs. Okay, 7 years passed. Now, Rachel knows, wait a minute. I'm going to end up marrying Yaakov. After the whole marriage, there's, the whole town, the whole country, the whole city, they're all going to talk. Oh, Yaakov married Rachel, and wow. And she was like, what embarrassment, what shame it will bring on my sister? He will shame her to such an extent, that will kill her. How is she going to live with herself that the younger sister got married before? Rachel said, I cannot bear the fact that my sister will have shame. She by herself went and told it to Leah. And she says, listen, just that you know, they're going to switch you probably. Yaakov is going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you just tell him, Chala, Nida, Adlakat Nerot. That's going to be the sign. When Yakov asked Leah, why did you do that? Don't you think that also Yakov went to Rachel? Yakov wakes up in the morning, he gets the shock of his life. First he asks Leah, why did you do it? You cheated your father. He goes to Lavan, why did you do it? You conned me, you cheated me. Lavan tells him, I'm very sorry to tell you, in my place where I come from, you don't marry the younger sister first. Then he goes to Rachel. Rachel, why'd you do that? I thought we're soulmates. I thought we were going to spend the rest of our life together. Don't you remember the letters I wrote to you? And you wrote me back? And we said we're going to spend the rest of our life together. Why'd you do that? She tells him, because I didn't want my sister to be insulted. I didn't want my sister to be hurt. I couldn't bear the fact that my sister will suffer. Yaakov Avinu sees that and he says, oh, such love between both of you, such connection, then I can marry you. Because the Isur D'Oraita is litzror, is that you're going to fight with each other and you're going to become enemies. But such appreciation, admiration and love between the both of you, you'll never become enemies. Therefore, the prohibition from the Torah is not valid. Because what is the prohibition? Litzror, to become enemies. You are so concerned with her emotions and her honor and her dignity. This is not litzror. There's not going to be hate here. I can marry you both. Now I'll marry you too. That's one of the explanations. Now, on the other way around, where did it, it says in our Torah that Hashem does everything midah keneged midah. Rachel was so concerned with the emotions and the feelings of Leah that she said, I'm not going to do that. You know when it turned around back? Leah had 6 kids and Rachel had 0. Now Leah became pregnant. Leah's like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to now have a child, both maidservants already have 2 kids, it leaves Rachel only 2 kids. Now if I'm going to have now number 7, that leaves Rachel only 1 kid. She's going to be the least of all the mothers. What would that do to Rachel's feelings? Being the one that has the least kids, how would that make her feel? Rachel would be broken-hearted that I have 7 kids, the maidservants have 2 each, and she only has 1. That will break her heart. So Leah turns around and she tells to Hashem, I know I have a 7th child here. Please, make it a girl. Make it a girl. That Rachel will have 2 boys. And sure enough, she has a girl. She has Dinah. So Leah was so concerned with the feelings of Rachel that she prayed her kishkes to have a girl. And it changed it. That's why she called her Dinah, because she changed the din, the judgment, and she became a girl. So you see, the love between these 2 sisters was so unbelievable that Yaakov said, this is not litzror. They love each other. They'll never be enemies. Therefore, it's not valid based on the din of the Oraita. I can marry them. This is the first opinion. Now, comes another option. The second option is that Yaakov had obligation to Rachel. He said, I'm going to marry you. He gave his word. And for him, the word was much more important than being strict. For Yaakov Avinu, being honest and holding by my word was much more important than being strict in the laws of the Torah. He says, okay, I'm outside of Israel. There's not going to be arguments between them. They're going to love each other. What's more important? Me being a machmir? Or being, how we call it, fanatic? No. My word is much more powerful. And I gave my word to Rachel that I'm going to marry her. I can't break my word. And that's why he was like, okay, I have to, this is hitchayvut. It's a commitment. He asked her, do you want to marry me? She says yes. He had a commitment. That really, that when you want to take something out of this story, if you want to look at one side, the love between Rachel and Leah, that Yaakov said, okay, this is not considered isur, a prohibition, because they're not going to become enemies. then you want to take from that story the power of what it means to love another person with unconditional love. The real Ahavat Israel. Not like what's for me and what's in it for me. Unfortunately, in all our relationships, it's what is in it for me. And if something doesn't work how it works for me, then I don't want to, then I first let it work good for me. This is besides what a lesson it is, what's real love of appreciation of another person, and what it really means to have Ahavat Israel. And that's really what we need to focus on, because if we really apply this Ahavat Israel, we're going to have Mashiach here much faster than you think. We're not going to need these jets that we're flying now. That's our problem, that we don't have Ahavat Israel. I mean, at least we don't have enough. We can say, yeah, we do have Ahavat Israel. But when it's pushed to the test, Ahavat Israel is not that great. That's one thing that I want to take, one lesson that I want to take out of the story. But the second is, what does it mean, the power of my commitment? If I have a commitment, you stand for your commitment. Don't pretend that you're so religious or you're so observant and you're not willing to bend the rule. But you have a commitment. And this commitment can come in marriage. Some husbands and wives, I'm so frum right now, I'm so religious, I'm not willing to barge one. You have a commitment, you have a wife, you have a husband. First comes the commitment. Then it's with children. So many parents are not willing to barge 1 millimeter because they're so strict. The poor child, he doesn't want to be strict like you. The child is going through something right now. Don't be so strict. You have a commitment. You said, I'm willing to bring a child into the world. Suddenly you're becoming Moshe Rabbeinu. When it comes to the shul, you know how to talk with your tefillin on. When it comes to Lashon Hara, you know how to say Lashon Hara. When it comes to your child, you can go be a little bit lenient. You had a commitment. You brought that child, that neshama, into the world. And this is in many things. That can be in a business deal. It can be between me and you. You know that if I tell you I'm going to pick you up at 4, and I come at 4 or 5, I broke a neder. I should tell you, I'm going to come to pick you up at 4, bli neder. I'll make my best to come at 4. If I say I'm picking you up at 4 and I'm late, I broke a neder. And if I have a commitment, I will help you. Somebody comes and asks for, yeah, we'll help you. 2 days later, can you help me? No, it's not working so well for me. You had a commitment. You told me you're going to help me. You could have told me then, listen, I don't know, I'll try, I'll check. If I can, I will. If I can't. The Torah comes to tell us something so powerful. Stand by behind your word. You have a commitment, doesn't matter in what form or a shape this commitment comes, stand by it, stand behind it. Don't turn around. Be honest. This is all boiling down that, Yakov is corresponding to Midat HaEmet. It says about Titen Emet leYakov. We read it every day in our prayers. There's a verse. It says Titen Emet leYakov. The Yakov is Emet. Yakov was a man of truth. I said to her, I'm going to marry her. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be so machmir today about this little chupchik, this little halacha. I'm out of Israel. It's not the Isur. If the Torah wasn't given, it's not a Isur Doraita. My word is much more powerful. It comes to teach me such a powerful teaching, how strong my words should be. And that it's not only the commitment between me and another person. I have a commitment to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. I was sent down to this world with a commitment. So it's coming to teach me how important is my honesty, my integrity, and when I say to somebody something, you do it. You don't, and if you don't think you're able to do it, don't start. Don't come and promise something. Don't come and promise something to somebody that will never work out. Say, if I'm not 100% sure, I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure. I'll try. Bezrat Hashem, what we should learn from that, how important is our honesty. Needless to say, how important is Ahavat Israel. Hashgacha Pratit, that usually the Parashat Vayetze is falling around the time of Rosh Chodesh of Kislev, which is the auspicious time to really work on my spiritual growth. My spiritual growth is lying by the fact that I can express love to another person unconditionally, doesn't matter what they did, and to stand by my word, and to have honesty in what I do, and to be honest. Somebody hires me, I have a commitment. I can't just do whatever I want right now. because I don't feel like it. No, I have a commitment. You know, we opened 5 weeks ago. We started the men's program. 5 weeks ago? No, 6 weeks ago. We're now starting the 6th week. The Yetzer Hara was very unhappy with the fact that we opened the yeshiva. 2 days after we opened the yeshiva, I crashed in sickness. I got some virus that I barely functioned. You didn't see it, you the ladies, ask the men. I was... And I literally dragged myself 6 o'clock in the morning to teach, and my wife kept telling me, take a few days off. No, I can't. I had a commitment. I've been telling these guys for half a year, we're starting to learn. I told them we're starting to learn after the holiday, after Sukkot, we're starting. It's a commitment. If I'm going to let now the Yetzer Hara know that whenever he wants to break me, he's going to make me sick, I'm not going to let the Yetzer Hara have an upper hand on me. More than that, there's 10, 15 guys I committed to come and teach them. What am I going to tell them now? I'm sick. So what if I'm sick? And my wife said, they'll understand. I know they will understand. But I had a commitment. So it was not only the fact that I did not want to give power to the Yetzer Hara to know that, whenever I want to break him, I'll make him sick. No, there was a commitment, not only between me, my wife kept telling me, the men will forgive you, they'll understand. I said, the commitment, I made a commitment. It was my birthday on Simchat Torah, I said, we're starting to learn the day after. I had a commitment in my spiritual growth, I'm not breaking it. I had a commitment to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to start learning Torah. Teaching in a form of a yeshiva. So when you take a commitment, you do it. And if you think you can't do it, don't take it on yourself. And this is the main problem when you see in marriages, in education. You made a commitment to marry your wife, stand by your commitment. You made a commitment to bring kids to the world, you took a business deal. You took a job, you made a commitment. You know that I had a business before I became teaching and traveling and lecturing. I was like, I'm going to have a business because I'm going to have an organization, a non-for-profit. I don't want to start asking people for donations. I'm going to have a business, and my business will feed my own organization. That way, I get the entire mitzvah. I don't need to ask people for charity. So for years, I had a business. And at some point, my rabbi told me, listen, you gotta quit the business because you're not putting your entire effort into your avodat Hashem, into your mission, to your shlichut. So it took time to start closing off the business. But I had another 2 or 3 years that I had a commitment to customers. I already had an organization. We had my entire day and agenda was teaching and flying and traveling and lecturing. But I had a commitment. I couldn't break the commitment, even though I didn't want to. My mind was already completely off the business. It took another 2 years that I had to slowly finish my commitment, and then, okay, now I'm good to go. So we want to take an unbelievable teachings from here, the power of commitment and how much I have to hold by my word. And chas v'shalom, not to throw promises out there in many different ways, including to myself, and not to stand by my own word. And now it's Rosh Chodesh Kislev. It is the month that signifies the growth. We see it in Chanukah every day. We're lighting another candle and another candle. So it's a very auspicious time. I told you in the beginning of today what remedy we have. Not to whine the whole month. Not to complain the whole month. You take a commitment. The commitment is between you and yourself. Between me and Hashem. Okay, from today I'm not going to do this anymore. If you think you can do it, then say, I will try. I will do my best. But if you're already making a commitment, that should be very solid. We're going to learn from Yitzchak what it means, the midat of the emet, what it means truth. Bezrat Hashem, if we're able to do that, we will refine ourselves to a level that we can see bemet, the meal that I was talking about, where David HaMelech is going to do kiddush on the wine. And Bezrat Hashem, by our actions and shuvah, then we're able to see that very, very fast with our own eyes. And Bezrat Hashem, we should merit to see the coming of Mashiach very soon. And Bezrat Hashem should have a beautiful, successful, healthy, prosperous month and a happy month. Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you again next week.